This Toll, we are going to talk about conflict today. So our lesson objectives are going to be to identify conflict in literature. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to talk about conflict today, and then we are going to read The Elevator by William Slater. And while we're reading it, I really want you to be thinking about how he uses conflict within his short story. You're also going to understand the difference between external and internal conflict, and then you're going to understand the different types of conflict. So let's start off. What is conflict? So in a story, conflict is a struggle between opposing forces. So look at this dude right here in the green shirt. I think he's a Baylor grad because he's wearing green. Must be a smart man. But he's having a conflict right now. And what is the opposing force that he is having a struggle with? You got it. He is caught up near a tornado. So that is his conflict. So there's two types of conflict, internal and external. So let's talk about internal real quick. Internal is going to take place inside of the body and the mind. So I have an internal conflict of every day I would really love to have a Whataburger cheeseburger, but I know that my body needs good nutrition, and so I need to have the salad. It feeds my body better than the burger does, but I still have this internal conflict because I really want that cheeseburger. Person versus self. So this is where there's a struggle within the character. Maybe they're making a hard decision. Maybe they're struggling to overcome something that they're scared of or fearful of. Maybe an addiction that they're struggling with to overcome. Maybe there's some emotional damage or a mental health issue that they're dealing with. Or maybe it's just a personal issue. That would be person versus self because they're dealing with it within themselves. All right, here's the second type, external conflict. External conflict takes place outside of the body and mind, whereas internal takes place inside of the body and mind. So there's three types of external conflict. There's person versus person, person versus nature, and person versus society. All right, let's talk about person versus person. So this is mainly seen in the form of two characters, usually the protagonist versus the antagonist. But it didn't have to be a physical confrontation like the superhero just had. It could also be a battle between ideas, but it's just a person versus a person conflict between the two. Person versus environment. So environment is defined as anything surrounding a person. This can include the weather. It could be objects that are around you. It could be activities. But if you look at this guy in this picture, he's obviously cold based on his dress. And then we can see the mountains are covered in snow. And so he's having a person versus environment conflict. He's got to figure out how to get down that mountain as well as be able to stay warm. Person versus society. So this is where the protagonist battles against element of government or culture. We see a lot of this in our dystopian genres. We will actually read a dystopian genre in our pre-AP and GT classes that will, it's the character itself is really battling against the government that he is under. Okay, let's practice. So what type of conflict is being illustrated in these pictures? So we've got an angel who's speaking good things into this dude's mind and a devil who's speaking not so good things into this dude's mind. Is this a person versus self, person versus person, person versus environment, or person versus society? He's having this internal battle going on within him. Good. Person versus self. How about this one? There's a flood. Which one would this be? Person versus environment. All right, this one, it looks like we've got a group of people. Maybe they're picketing or gathering together for some kind of maybe riot or some kind of something that they're gathering together. They've got a purpose. They've got purpose written all over their face. What kind of conflict do you think this would be? Person versus society. All right, how about this one? Our scuba diver is in the shark's home. He's in the ocean with the shark, and that area belongs to the shark. Person versus environment. Good job, you guys. All right, so now we're going to change things up a little bit, and you're going to tell me what type of conflict is being illustrated in these passages of text. Shelley stared into the mirror, brushing her teeth. Every morning, she had the same conversation with her reflection. Today's the day, she thought. Today, I am going to leave him. I'm going to walk right up to him and tell him it's over. Which type of conflict is this? Person versus self. Yeah, our clues were she's staring into the mirror and she's having a conversation with herself. She's looking at herself, the reflection of herself. I was just about to update my Facebook profile when my mother walked in. In her hand was my report card. This was not going to end well for me. How are you failing 3 classes? Say goodbye to your social life. It is nothing but studying for the rest of this year. I couldn't believe my ears. Mom, you are being totally unreasonable. Which type of conflict is this? Person versus person. Yes, she and her mother are having a conflict. Tired of the pay inequality at her work, Joanna decided to take things into her own hands. She rallied the women in her office to stage a peaceful protest. They picketed outside the building for 6 days until they are afforded the opportunity to meet with the general managers. What kind of conflict is this? Good job. Person versus society. Our clue words are protest, picketed. Richard leapt from his bed and ran to the door. The smell of the smoke woke him, and when he heard the alarm in his hallway sound, he knew he was in trouble. He opened the door and flames filled the hall. He knew his only option was out the window. So what type of conflict is he having? Person versus environment. Yes, Richard is inside a house with flames. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening today.